Okay, this is how I make my, I don't know, it's a black pepper beef with oyster sauce. It's a pretty simple, straightforward recipe that is going to be flawless for anybody, anytime. I have a little bit of toasted canola oil here. This is a phenomenal product and gives you real good smokiness of the wok flavor, as well as being very, very good oil for stir frying. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add my aromatics, which are Chinese chilies, garlic, ginger, and scallion. I'm going to add those to my wok. One of the things about wok cooking is how fabulous it is to let your aromatics cook and get a nice little scorch on them, and then we're going to put them on a side plate. I always do wok cooking with, well, shouldn't always, some dishes don't require a side plate, but I'm going to cook the beef separately, I'm going to cook my onions and broccoli separately, and then add my liquid ingredients and my black pepper, and they're going to be great. I just am looking for that sort of toasty color on those peppers. I don't want to blacken anything, certainly not the scallions or the ginger or the garlic. I just want to make sure they get a nice sear on them like they have there. That's basically perfect for my aromatics, and I'm going to spill that out onto the plate and move on to the next step. So if you're using a cheap cut of beef, I would add a teaspoon of baking soda to this to break it down a little more, especially if you're using something like flank steak. I'm using tenderloin here because I always sort of plus up this dish, and I like to serve it in between medium rare and medium, and it has cornstarch, a little bit of soy sauce, some doubanjian or douban, a little bit of rice wine in there. That's it. And I have blanched my Chinese broccoli and sliced my onions, and we're just going to put that into this wok and spread this out. It's so hard to take photos or videos by yourself, but I always, I could be using a wok tool, but did I remember to pull it out to get ready for the video? No. So I'm going to use my finger, and I'll get out a wok tool at the next go-round. But this is such an important piece of this. I'm going to let that get a really good sear on there. And obviously, having a really well-seasoned wok is crucial to this. So why did I blanch my Chinese broccoli? For the same reason I would blanch carrots or anything that wouldn't cook in the shortest amount of time as the onions will. And look at that, I've got a nice sear on there. And then I spread this out to let the wok, the shape of the wok, help me, right? The whole point about cooking in the wok is that it's, I don't know, what is that, a 36-inch circle of carbon steel turned into a dome. So it's as hot, almost as hot here as it is down in the center there. And I'm going to get a really nice scorch on everything that goes in there. So I have that breath of the dragon, as it's often referred to. This toasted rapeseed oil, toasted canola oil, whichever you prefer to call it, I buy this 3-4 bottles a time online, is such a helper for that. All right, so I can smell when I toss it that the onions, they're starting to get cooked, and I want them to cook with my beef and a little bit of sauce. So I'm going to put that on my side plate as well, very carefully. Huge bonus, a well-seasoned wok, right? Then we'll sear the beef, add our vegetables back in, and add our liquid seasonings. I have about a tablespoon and a half of sugar, about 2-3 tablespoons of oyster sauce, tablespoon of rice wine, and tablespoon and a half of soy sauce. And this is a tablespoon and a half of freshly ground black pepper. I put my peppercorns into a mortar and pestle and ground that. And I let my beef come to room temperature. Very, very, very important. All right, last move. Let's cook our beef, huh? Now you notice the way that I spilled that into my wok was very specific. I started on one side and moved around, so every piece that was in that bowl has some contact with the cooking surface, and I have such a nicely seasoned wok. I love it. It's a lot of work to keep it seasoned, but it's so worth it because I have a starchy marinated beef product that just lifts off the bottom there. So we're just going to let that cook for a little while. I'm going to turn each piece. I want to go till about rare, and then I'm going to start adding all of our other ingredients, including our liquid seasoning, which is going to cook with it. And we're going to serve the beef in between medium rare and medium, which is sort of a perfect stir-fry temp for a luxury cut like that. And this is very, very high, the temperature of the wok, but it feels nice and safe. I should be using my cooking chopsticks for this, but again, just like I forgot my wok hand tools. Oh, Luca, shush. He smells beef cooking. He's going crazy. And he loves Chinese food. And yes, I'm going to turn every piece because this is a luxury cut, right? If it was slices of marinated flank steak or shoulder that I had tenderized in a marinade that included a teaspoon of baking soda, I wouldn't. I would just use a wok tool. But I really want to get some nice caramelization on two sides of this beef before I start to add my other ingredients. Doesn't that just look gorgeous? All right. So this has been cooking for about, 90 seconds on each side. And now, wok tool in hand. Yes, Luca, shush. I'm just going to do a little moving around, promote some even cooking of some of those pieces. And then I'm going to add my aromatics, ginger, garlic, scallion, and those two beautiful Chinese chilies. I get my Chinese chilies online from many sources. These are from my friend Jing Gao and her company Fly by Jing. I'm just going to incorporate those flavors with it. These chilies will just make the dish warm. They won't make it spicy. If you break them up, it'll make it spicy. And then I have my caramelized onion and my broccoli. And this is a dish that is sort of it would be beef with oyster sauce, except that I really like black pepper beef too. So I used my sauce recipe from one and of course the ground black pepper from the other. So super, super fun. And then right before I add the liquid seasoning, I want to sprinkle all of this black pepper in there. And the reason is the heat, because it won't cook long with the liquid. The liquid is going to tighten up right away because of the cornstarch that is in the marinade for the beef. But I want the heat of the food and the wok to really bring out all the flavor of that black pepper. And then, this smells so perfect, and it's so simple. You can follow this recipe to stunning success anytime you want. And then, last thing, and this is super important, always just give your sauce a little stir in case there's any stuff in the bottom there, like a little sugar or whatever, and then my liquid seasoning goes in. And I don't play around now. I don't do any fancy flipping. I use my wok tool because the food goes up. The sauce still hasn't thickened 100%, right? It's going to thicken over the next 30 seconds. I don't want to splash sauce all over myself. I also don't want to over-reduce this because the sauce is so delicious on everything that it goes on. Turn off my wok and then plate that up. Super simple, takes about 5-6 minutes start to finish, but that is about a platter of this dish that I could imagine. Sometimes I cook things for you, they don't turn out 100%. This turned out 105%, so it makes up for all that other stuff. See you later.